there was a Trump rally. I went to it Saturday. Okay, it's like a small civic center stadium, so like 7,000 seats or something. I waited in line for about 3 hours, 4 hours almost, and I couldn't even make it in. There's probably, I would venture to guess there's probably about 10,000 people there, maybe more. And out of all those people, I did not see one Nazi. I was pretty bummed. I was expecting to see somebody walking around with a little Hitler stash, brown shirts and red armbands. Maybe even some of those super white supremacy guys with the hoods. So no Nazis. They probably thought I was a Fed, and I wasn't there to worship the man. You know what I mean? I was like, I just wanted to check it out, see what it was about. But again, his policies line up, in my opinion, with the gospel principles more times than hers does.
So,
Oh, we gotta do our intro, man, because it's been so long.
dude, okay, yeah, that's true. Apologies to everyone who has subscribed and followed and watched us. We really appreciate your support, and wonderful to have you there for us. Sorry, we've not really been much there for you guys the last couple months. Life has been very busy, but I'm trying to get back in the saddle here. We feel it very important that we talk about this before it's over and we get into the next phase, which is the bleep show.
Yeah.
and the cleanup of the sheep show. So I think it's super important that it's very normal for everyone to say this is the most important election of our lifetime. Now, how did Elon Musk put it? He said it's the most important election of, I think he may have said of the century, but I would say this is
I think
probably
century.
the most important election that America has had in over 100 years. And I mean that. And because not because we're like trying to hype up the election, like you vote a certain way. That's factual in my mind because of the fact that America sits on the precipice of becoming like going really hard into socialism and communism and
Mm-hmm.
restoring freedom and maintaining freedom. And if I were to divide kind of what I see in two camps, it is the totalitarian power for the good of the people that we saw arise in COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You virtually have that same virtuous totalitarian power versus one that wants to keep the power amongst the people. That is what I see. And if you're listening to this and you think you think that Kamala is for the people and Trump is the totalitarian power, I just want you to back up a couple years and realize who's been running the show.
Yeah.
Who is in favor of shutting down churches and worship? Who is always in favor of shutting down freedom of speech? Who actually shuts down freedom of speech?
Who's actively calling for shutting down freedom of
Who
speech?
calls for violence and shutting down freedom of speech consistently?
Mm-hmm.
And the progressives, these communists, that are in the social media platforms, they are always suppressing freedom of speech. Always. They're not on Trump's side. If they were, how did President Trump, while he was president, suddenly lose all communication ability across all social media platforms overnight?
Mm-hmm.
So like people just have to be aware. This is a contest between the virtuous totalitarian brother versus the people are sovereign. Keep the people free to live and to do as they desire. Right? You don't have to agree with the characters of either one, but as I observe the Latter-day Saints, it's those who are like, Kamala, das Führer, the Trump is das Führer, we cannot vote for. I'm literally quoting das Führer. Well, I was literally in I had a social media Facebook group of people I did a play with at BYU. I haven't really talked to these people in a long time. Many of them are off the deep end politically. Plenty of them are not actually even active anymore.
Mm.
And they like, so this, bless her soul, she's trying to do a brave thing. Good on her. Politically retarded, 100%. And it's just like, I really want you guys, like, create the group amongst all of us. Really want you guys to really vote for the right person. That is Kamala. We cannot put Das Führer back in there. And blah, blah, blah. I immediately left the group because I was like, dude, all the other, it's like, someone built a fire, and then the devil said, look at the kerosene in your hands. And I was like, oh, I could throw this in there somehow. And I was like, I gotta leave before I do this. So I left the group. That way I just didn't have to, like,
Yeah.
throw kerosene on that dumpster fire. But that's the thing though. Latter-day Saints, too many of them I'm seeing, whether they're active, inactive, whatever, there's enough of them that desire to be accepted by the world and desire a virtuous totalitarian power, because somehow they equate that with the sovereignty of Christ the Lord when he comes to rule again, when he comes to, and establishes his kingdom, and it'll be Zion amongst the people. Somehow people equate Zion being enforced with an iron fist to Christ's Zion, where people are of one heart and of one mind. That's the best way to put it. And before I say anything else, yeah, my background's going like crazy. If I have to be honest, I am sitting on my bed recording this because there's nowhere else I can record this. So just ignore it. I'm doing my best, Ryan. I'm doing my best.
It looks like the bed on a boat. So, I mean,
well, it is.
You got me fooled. So.
I'm just out in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's pretty great out here.
Nice. Do well for yourself the last few months, I guess, right?
So, anyways, that's kind of my assessment. What do you think, Ryan? Do you agree with that? Like that people have this endearing, this sort of love, this sort of like false belief that there's a virtue in this totalitarian power, or am I characterizing it wrong?
I don't think they realize it's a totalitarian idea. I think
that's correct. I guess that's kind of the me breaking the fourth wall by putting the word totalitarian in there, because I'm speaking to our audience, which are not in favor of that. Is that the people who are not our audience, they think it's virtuous. So that's why I say virtuous, and we know it to be totalitarian. I mean, like yes, but the
result, the end result is definitely a totalitarianism government and things like that. But it's, like you were saying, but it's going to end up that way because of we're so virtuous. We're just trying to help everybody. Okay. Now I can definitely understand why they would want to do that, because I want to help people too. Like, right. This is the greatest country in the world.
Okay.
I want other people to have those kinds of freedoms and those kinds of things. And, but it's just, it's not, it can't be forced on people. It's not going to happen. We've tried it in a lot of other places in the world and it doesn't work.
And you would know, Ryan, you were part of that. You were in the military industrial complex mill.
Exactly. It doesn't work. Anyways, so this is kind of a little twist on that, actually. But it's just that people are missing the idea that if the government can say, we're going to make everybody happy, we're going to take care of everyone, like they miss the point where it's the government's not supposed to be doing that. Number one, it's not designed to be like that from the Constitution. Number two, you end up, like we've been talking about, a totalitarianism, a fascistic, a socialist, communist kind of country, and we all know how those work and how those have ended up in history.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that drives me up the wall is just the clear projection that the left has with all of this stuff, claiming that the right is doing all these crazy things when the left is actually the one doing them.
That's
So
that's good. Yep, that's true. 100% true.
it blows my
Um,
same time. If you scream it like they do, if you scream it loud enough for long enough, people buy it, And if it's
they do, right? There's a disconnect from reality.
Mhm.
I think if you are unable to see reality as is, or as Bednar put it years ago in a conference talk, things as they really are. If you cannot see things as they really are, which used to not take a level of discernment, but now it takes a certain level of discernment. Then you can't. Then you're unable to make connections between what leadership does and how they manipulate economies, culture, and all these other things, and how it trickles down to bad things happening. They can't make that connection, then they're easily persuaded to believe something that's
Yeah.
not true, right? And actually, as you were talking, and you're sharing your thoughts, I mean, I realized he said, people want things like, oh, we just want a government that takes care of everyone. And if anyone had a shred of historical understanding, they would run away from the very concept.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Hitler, man, he was making a government that was going to take care of everyone, man. It was going to be the utopia, and and that was a terrible, terrible, terrible things happened. But also, as you were saying that, I realized if more Latter-day Saints would read the General Handbook of Instructions of the Church, they
Mm,
would either have to reconcile the fact that their belief system is completely contradictory to the Democrat platform, Kamala's platform, and the idea of socialism and therefore communism and all these programs, because the church is very against this idea of we'll take care of everyone.
mhm,
Our church is the richest, it's the wealthiest church in the world, and we've got the restored gospel. We have a lot of great things, but in the temporal sense, we are abundantly blessed, and the church isn't like, and we're gonna pay for all y'all's crap because we have the money to, and you might fail, right? Instead, their principles are, they talk about like if someone is needing financial support, whatever else, right? Like
yeah.
they must create a plan with their leadership to be self-reliant.
Yep.
The church is not a handout. It's not a subsidy. Church is anti-subsidy. And when they say someone's going through a hard time, they actually recommend they first reach out to the family for help, and then the church if that can happen. But they still must work to become independent. They never say and government programs.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, they don't. And I mean, unless that's recently changed. But I remember being like, wow, that's not in there. So I'm like, you go through the gospel principles manual. One of them is the principle of work and
Yeah.
self-reliance. Like you have to have those things. And if you want a government that can take care of everyone, especially everyone's feelings, oh my crap, then you support a government that's going to enslave all of us.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Uh,
Anyways,
You're saying a basic knowledge of history can tell you all of these things. Yeah.
yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy.
So have you already voted? Did you do early voting?
I didn't get the chance to do it. I was kind of wanting to, but I just didn't get to, unfortunately. So
So I did. I got my wife and I. We did early voting yesterday. We had a really long day of football games. It was the tournament, so the games were spread out across the day. And I was like, we got 15 minutes before the voting booth, before the early voting closes. And it was right next to the football field. So
no.
I literally picked my wife up on my back and ran with her on my back. and we got there, and we voted. And I was like, okay, let's see how it goes. And I did vote for Trump because principally, if I understand the principles of the gospel clearly, I don't lean too hard on one principle over the other. And it, because as Bednar says, right, any virtue taken to an extreme becomes a vice. And Latter-day Saints who take this virtue of like compassion, love, like love is love, compassion, like it becomes no longer compassion, it becomes no longer love, and therefore there's no longer justice. There's no balance of
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
right? And while we might be imperfect, if as long as we understand, hey, the country needs to go in a different direction, Trump is the most likely candidate to get us that direction for a number of reasons. And Ryan, what are some of the things that Trump's running for that Latter-day Saints should? Do you think Latter-day Saints should actually be in in favor of?
Right. Well, so first things first, we are not voting for the prophet. We are not voting for
Good point.
someone that we're expecting to be perfect, right? Like, for whatever reason, people need to get that out of their heads, because I think that's just, I don't know why people think that the president needs to be this perfect man. Nobody's perfect. There's been one person who's perfect, and he's not living here anymore.
He's
Okay?
not running for president.
Yeah, and he's not running. It does, and I should say, if when he shows up, he's not going to have to run for anything, because we're all going to be like, "Yep, you are our leader." But anyway, so yeah, um,
So I want to comment on that because
yeah,
my riff off of that is you called out the unspoken thing, which is that Latter-day Saints are getting too caught up on the perfection of character, which I find stupidly ironic when if they say that about Trump, and I'm like, do you know nothing about Kamala?
right.
I'm serious. Like it's insane to me,
Her
right?
path, and you want to talk about, well, okay, dude, there's so many directions we could go with this about her in general. And yes, Trump's past is, he's what, 80 years old or something?
Something like that.
Um, yeah, I'm not, I know he's not perfect. I know he's not the um the cleanest tool, the cleanest knife, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Use insert analogy here, okay? But I mean, crap, he doesn't even drink. I didn't know this. He doesn't even drink.
Really?
He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do any of that stuff, because I think he knows that messes with decision making, and
That's amazing.
he's had to make. I mean, people say, "Oh, he was, he's born a rich boy," blah blah blah. Okay, so what? He's had to keep that money, right? He's had to, and he's built it. He's grown it. He knows how to do that stuff. So
Yeah.
who cares where he started from? Anyways, this goes into the whole idea of, well, the whole purpose of our economy is so that we can all get up, right? We can all get into the next layer of wealth, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Sorry, I'm totally going off to like many different directions.
Well,
But so Harris, she's the ultimate DEI hire.
so why does it matter? Why are you such a bigot, Ryan? Why does that matter? She's a DEI hire. How dare you?
Why is it a bad thing if she's a DEI hire? Isn't that what they want? DEI hires? Why bad thing now? If
That's what I'm saying. Like, isn't there virtue in a DEI hire? Isn't it time that we give someone a chance?
if they're good at it, sure.
That matters, right?
But that's not DEI. That's meritocracy. We don't want that.
Well, look what happened to what was that oceanic submarine that imploded? His entire company was DEI hires, and he got these young people because there's too many old white men who were in the industry who built those sort of things. So he hired a bunch of these new guys, and what happened?
Yeah. But not just DEI hire, but affirmative action too. Is Kamala Harris, right? She, well, not just affirmative act, like all kinds of the crappy ways that you could work your way into higher positions, right? She got her first gig by dating Willie Brown, the big dude in was it San Francisco, or at least California politics.
Yep.
If you wanted to get ahead into things, you had to know Willie Brown, right? What was he, the mayor of San Francisco or something like that?
And biblically, no, Mr. Brown.
Yeah. And so she, did some things, some dating things, right?
Keeping it G.
I know. What do they, cast pearls with swine kind of thing? But no, she, you know, she also dated some other big celebrities. Is it Montel Williams? I think was one of them.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't remember. Anyways, she got herself into politics through dating people that are in politics, not because of her merit. She plagiarizes like everything, just like Biden does. Let's see.
She here's the thing, right? Like her
What else?
history is all about. It sounds like the Gadianton robbers. This should concern every Latter-day Saint. If you have the Book of Mormon, as the prophets have told us, and as Mormon himself said, it was written for our day, or he saw our day. If you do
Mm-hmm.
not see the pattern between her playing the game for the purpose of power, right? Not a selfish man who turned himself into a billionaire by trying to grow his wealth, but by someone who literally invested her time, attention, and sacrificed her virtue and her chastity for the cause of power,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because government is power, right? It wasn't like sleeping with people to make more money. Sure, money comes with the game, but you are investing yourself into greater seats of power.
Mm-hmm.
That is a secret combination Gadianton robber
Yeah.
theme, isn't it? Is it not?
No, no, you're definitely right, man. And that's how she worked it. I mean, and that's how a lot of these politicians work it nowadays. I mean, Biden, Obama, there's a ton of Republican ones too. How do these politicians end up as millionaires? You know what I mean? Because they're doing
Not
same.
just like 3 million, like hundreds of millions.
Yeah, like buku bucks. How does what is it? Pelosi, and there's obviously more on both sides of the aisle on this, but insider trading basically, or like they know what stocks are going to do what based on the policies they're creating, so they're ahead of the curve on all that stuff. And for some reason, that's not illegal for politicians to be able to do that. I always thought that was, but I guess not. Um, so there's a lot of those just rules for thee, but not for me. Um, anyways, what were we talking about in the beginning here?
So then, like we were kind of comparing
Yeah, yeah.
the character, right? Because there's this misconception once Latter-day Saints has the perfect character, and somehow they overlook the character flaws in Kamala and her history, right?
Right. There's ignoring of factual history because of flattering words and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and even more words of that other dude's even worse. This guy's really bad. You don't want him in there.
Well, it's kind of like some people have resigned themselves to Kamala, and they now, because they are so convinced because of the bad things they hear in the news about Trump, they're so convinced there's no possible way they could ever righteously vote for Trump because of BS, BS, BS. Just plug in the BS line they heard in the news. They cannot. So therefore, they have to come up with reasons, flattering. They have to shine. They have to polish the turd,
Mm,
Kamala's turd, in order to feel like I'm justified in some way voting for her, aside from the fact that I know I'm not voting in Das Fuhrer, right, Hitler. And that's kind of like people who are stuck in a town where there's only 2 restaurants, and they go to one restaurant and the server was terrible, had a really bad experience. The food is way better.
yeah.
The service is generally way better. The management is tons better, but they had a server there, right? Or they had a neighbor who said, "You don't want to go there. It's so bad. I vomited all night. I went there," right? Just some sort of story that. So they go to the other restaurant and they can never get themselves to go to the better one because they've now been convinced that one is not as good. This food sucks, but there's only 2 restaurants. I can't go to the one that's gonna give me vomiting all night. So I'm
Uh,
gonna go to this one that tastes like cardboard because it's the only option I got, right? So they goes, the cardboard is good. Get more salt for the cardboard.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's a good analogy. I like
I
that.
mean, I've been there where you convince yourself this is the better one because that sort of sucked, right? Or that was a bad experience there. But then ultimately you discover you're wrong. Like, you get over it and you realize Taco Bell is much better than Del Taco. No, just or is it the other way around? So yeah,
Uh,
so there's that. But on a moral issue, right? Okay, let us pretend that all the things in the news said about Trump are true. That he's just like Hitler. He tried overthrowing the government etc., etc., etc. Let's pull back for a moment and let's look at what are his stances.
Mhm.
Whether you believe he's sincere about these or not, what does he stand on in terms of the most important moral issues, and what does she stand on? Right? I don't care how much you present.
Yeah.
You present, like, oh, we're gonna love again, everyone. Women's health rights, kill that baby, and at any time you want, right? That's not how they say it, but that's what they mean, right? So does he stand for murdering babies all the way up to birth and even a little bit after birth, right? Because
Well,
those are the people that she supports. That is what she's all for abortion. It's not 100% clear on what she stands for because she's been keeping it hidden because she knows that her ideas and policies are too radical.
yeah.
But from her record and also all those who support her and everyone who runs her campaigns, what do they stand for?
Well,
Murdering the unborn.
but wait a minute. On the debate stage, I believe it was ABC moderators or was it CBS moderators? The one between Trump and Harris.
ABC, I thought.
The ABC moderator fact checked them and said that aborting a baby at 9 months or even after birth isn't legal in any state and isn't happening in any state.
Oh crap! Sorry, try not keeping it neat.
Like, it is most definitely happening in many states, including Minnesota, Tim Walz's state, um, among the other crazy things that he's been a part of. But yeah, these are the two most radical Democrats that have ever been selected. Well, I wouldn't even say select. Well, they were selected. They weren't voted uh, in a primary or anything like that. So there's that with democracy and everything.
Yeah, it like there's that. That's a really good point, right? Not really appointed, thrown in there, guys. Do you see the puppet strings yet? Look a little closer. Start looking for the puppet strings. Okay.
Getting cover stuff.
So as Latter-day Saints, do we believe that life is sacred, right, and that it should be protected?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And like no matter we can't remarket, we can't rebrand child murder as women's health rights, right? We have to avoid doing that because God will not hold us guiltless at the last day when he says, so remember how like central to like one of the most important aspects of God's plan was giving you physical bodies so you could create more physical bodies for God's children? Where'd
Mm-hmm.
you stand on that? Well, what if she got raped? It's like, hold on. How many of those abortion cases are for rape?
Less than 1%.
Way less than 1%. It's not even close to 1%,
So
right?
what's the other 99.999999999?
Exactly, right?
Just straight up birth control.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like we no longer. It makes me sad. I've been thinking about this actually for the last 7 days. Was how I'm so tired of of people arguing about abortion anymore because I've no longer hear anyone, even from the conservative side, anymore bring up the fact it's like, hey, shut your dang legs, keep it in your pants,
Right?
right? Keep it in your pants, shut your legs, have some self control, and when you're ready to wield the power of creation, do so. Put a ring on it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's important, right? We can't just pretend because then they go, well, this baby's gonna live a terrible life. So you think murdering it is better than giving it life?
Maybe
Okay.
be a terrible mother. I don't know. Don't be a
Like
terrible.
we
I don't
we
know.
could solve all this if you just encourage people to live virtuous lives.
Right. But
It's
instead, you're gonna have somebody like Kamala Harris saying, "We'll give you a $6,000 tax credit for each child that you have," and I'm not 100% sure how that's gonna work when you're aborting all the babies too. But also, would you? I mean, I didn't read all.
4,000 for everyone that you X.
Yeah, right. But would you say though too that encourages having children just for the sake of the tax credit, which honestly is a pretty dumb idea to do anyways. If they're like, yeah, I'm gonna have kids so I can get the tax credit. It's like, yeah, but you're gonna have to spend tens of thousands more dollars on that child just because you get a $6,000 tax credit.
But those are the same individuals who are looking for the government subsidies that they will get for having children without a father in the home, right? It's
right.
the same demographic of individuals who are poor, and the Democrats want to just farm for votes,
What
and
demographic?
they what
What demographic is that?
poorer individuals, and especially people of color, and that's very well documented. LGBT. I'm
LBJ.
tired. I'm saying it all wrong, right? The Gospels of the Principles. And now I'm saying, okay, Lyndon B. Johnson,
Yep.
well documented that he did that, and was a racist, and and one of these inwards to be voting for them for the next 100 years, right? The breakdown of the family.
Yep.
Who wants the breakdown of the family? Satan or God?
I'm pretty sure. I'm like 90% sure that it's Satan, but there might be a time where God said we should kill children too.
And have children out of wedlock. And we don't need dads. Dads aren't important.
Oh yeah, you're right. Right. Yeah, God never said that. Never mind.
No, not
Pretty
at all.
thing that came out. I mean, other than God saying these things for eternity, since the beginning, there was something that came out, President Hinckley in like 1995, that kind of talked about this stuff too.
What is that called? Isn't it like the Proclamation of Misogyny
You know what?
or the Patriarchy? Oh, it's the Proclamation of the Patriarchy.
Look at my wall right here. Let me pull this off my wall.
Oh,
The family.
family.
The world. What's it say? Oh, male. All human beings, male and female. That answers a big question, right? Two genders. Created image of God. Yep. Okay. A spirit, son or daughter. Again, that's pretty consistent. Two gender. Of heavenly parents. Let's see. Where was it? We declare the means by which mortal life is created to be divinely appointed.
Divinely
We
appointed.
shouldn't just be having kids whenever we want. Like, we should just be, hookup culture and just have kids. And
Hey, if I accidentally get someone pregnant, there's government programs to take care of her. No biggie.
well, right, somebody else
I don't
will.
need to be there.
Well, if I want to take it that far, I don't know if I want anybody to.
Hey, I will be set behind economically, and even in my job prospects, if I can't ever get ahead because I'm constantly paying alimony or paying child support or anything else like that. Like, I need the ability to get ahead.
That's true. That's true.
Right? And so does she. She needs to have that option. It's her body and her choice.
Hey, look, here's a cool line. I like this one. A little dusty. I probably gotta clean this up. But well, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. I would encourage all those who don't know what this is to read it. It's pretty cool. But the second to last paragraph, actually, these two paragraphs are pretty cool. We warn. This is the first presidency saying this, so President Hinckley was the prophet at the time. We warn that individuals who violate covenants of chastity, who abuse spouse or offspring, or who fail to fulfill family responsibilities will one day stand accountable before God.
That's intense.
Further, we warn that the disintegration of the family will bring upon individuals, communities, and nations the calamities foretold by ancient and modern prophets.
Oh my God, I got chills when you read that. Every time I read that, it just always. Are we not seeing that? So people have to understand. We're talking about the presidential election. Who stands for families being together, for responsibility, for fiscal responsibilities for yourself, therefore your family, for for the sanctity of life because children matter, right? Like who stands for those things, and who stands for encouraging people to live however they want, and for everyone else to pay for the cleanup afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Well, at least from what we see, it's pretty straightforward. Harris and Walls, they want to, seems like they promote the gender confusion. You know, men and women's sports and things like that. And that's just not us being like, we're trying to make them the boogeyman. Like, no, that's what their policies have shown. That's what their actions have shown. And it's
Yeah.
what they've also, their actions have failed to address the contrary. So, I mean, for the most part, I'd almost say they fail to address any of the topics because they failed to give very many specifics, but their actions prove that, yeah, they're kind of not this right here, right? So this last paragraph is pretty cool because when people say the church isn't political or the gospel isn't political, we can't mix them. We call upon responsible citizens and officers of government everywhere to promote those measures designed to maintain and strengthen the family as the fundamental unit of society.
Dude. Snap.
So yeah, don't tell me that our gospel is not involved in politics in any way, shape, or form because our gospel determines, or I should say, how we live the gospel determines how we vote, or at least it should.
Dude, that's a powerful phrase. How we live the gospel determine how we vote. And I would say more especially how we understand the gospel. Because I do know some people
Mm,
who live the gospel in a really good way and are politically retarded. And I love those individuals. Because you know what? Because they buy the lies and they don't take a moment to step outside of the fray and analyze carefully, right? And I understand we're all we can all get busy and get caught up in the echo chambers we're stuck in,
yeah,
but look carefully at what's happened. And this is one of those times I truly believe this is my warning for Latter-day Saints. God is not going to hold you guiltless for just winging this election. He blessed us with 4 years of Trump and 4 years of Harris, so we can compare the two side by side. It's not even like we have no idea what she'd be like.
yeah.
We had no idea what he'd be like. Because to be honest, I was not convinced that Trump was anything good. I did not vote for him the first time.
I didn't.
Now I've seen him. I'm happy with a lot of the things that he did. Right? I don't have to enjoy his speeches or anything else, but we saw generally good things. We understand what he'll be like, and we understand where he wants to go, the moral stances he's taking. We understand Biden and Harris's duo, what they did, what they're like, where they took the nation.
Yeah,
God's not going to hold you guiltless, Latter-day Saints, how you vote if you're going to have your head that deep in the sand or so far stuck somewhere in a dark hole. Like it's really important that you are aware, right? You see these things. Am I wrong?
no, I think you're completely right. And some part of me almost wants, I should say, want. Well, yeah, part of me almost wants Harris to win because they cannot. Well, just hear me out. But then, eventually, once I think this through, I'm like, no, this is a terrible idea. But what I'm saying is, though, if she wins, they can't blame. Well, the last, you know, Trump gave us this crap economy. They can't blame anything on the prior administration because she was the prior administration. You know what I mean? Like you can't say, well, Trump did this and Trump did that, and so we had to fix it. Like, no, you had the first 4 years to fix it, which
Yeah.
you made it way worse. Um, so part of me wants to see that just because I think it would wake up so many more people. Unfortunately, I think it would be too late, or it would kind of be the idea of right, like you can vote yourself into what's the phrase? You basically you vote yourself into communism, but you have to shoot your way out of it, kind of
Y-
thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But something like that. Like it's going to cost blood to get out of it. Um, so part of me wants people to see that, wants people to be like, ooh, I want them to be proven wrong. Unfortunately, it would be a bad way for them to be proven wrong.
Yeah. Be quite the cost,
Right,
right? Quite
exactly.
the
But
bill.
but I think it could be the wake up to be like, oh my goodness, this is no good. Like, we have to go back to this other kind of stuff. We got to be more careful about who we vote. We got to be more, we can't be single issue voters. We can't be winging it. We got to be responsible citizens, which
So
I think has lost a lot of people now.
yeah. So I wanted to share something with you because when we cannot one of the ways in which we are unable to see things as they are is that we are trapped in a pride cycle. And I was recently reading today. I was reading Ezra Taft Benson's President Benson's talk called "Beware of Pride," right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was interesting. He said this, and this is something we have to recognize because the Nephites were prideful, right? They may have had similar times where they were like,
A little bit.
this is a good, not, this is a bad candidate, or I want this judge for whatever reason, right? It like the prophets write out the history in the Book of Mormon, and we see that these lower judges, they were prideful, they wanted to overthrow the government and have a king. But we see that as like, ooh, those bad guys, like they didn't want there to be democracy anymore, right? But you have to remember, people who go for any of these causes in history, whether it's the Book of Mormon or outside the Book of Mormon, they believe in their cause and in its righteousness, and they have vilified the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they are justified in doing what they're doing. And Latter-day Saints and all Christians, we go through the same thing. Are we going to be unable to see the truth of things as they are because there's pride blind in our eyes, right? We go, oh, I already know this stuff. Here's what I put, but here's the quotation from him, and there's a lot of verses in here that are in parentheses for everyone to read. But he said, pride results in secret combinations. I thought that was fascinating. Okay.
Okay.
Pride results in secret combinations, which are built up to get power, gain, and glory of the world. And he says, see Helaman 7:5, Ether 8:9, 16, 22 through 23, like whole chapters there. Oh no, but I guess those are the whole verses of the Ether 8. And Moses 5:31. This fruit of the sin of pride, namely secret combinations, brought down both the Jaredite and Nephite civilizations, and has been and will yet be the cause of the fall of many nations.
Yep.
Including America.
Oh, most definitely. And I mean, of all the nations in the world, I would say we definitely have the greatest reasons to be prideful. I mean, look at what America has accomplished in not even 250 years compared to most nations throughout history.
That's right. That's right.
And it would also, because we're such a what's the word? Because this land is blessed with a very special promise, it would make sense that Satan would be working so hard to destroy it.
Yeah. And because America literally leads the world in helping it maintain freedom around the world, right? We're not
Yeah.
talking about the wars that are worthless and pointless, but we're talking about literally how the world looks to our example, and they look to our constitution to make all their own constitutions, and how we follow our own constitution. They follow our lead. We have to win in the right way, in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. And we haven't been doing that for, I would say definitely for the last, basically since World War II, since after World War II. And
Yeah.
that's not to bash um, any of the military members that have had, good intentions and wanted to serve and all this kind of stuff. There's obviously like the Red Scare and communism and all that stuff, McCarthyism and all that crazy stuff back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Well up into the 90s, just about. And but it led to some very poor policies, especially foreign policies, throughout that time period, and all the way up into today. It's been awful.
Yeah, you're right. So,
And not that everything before World War II was all gravy either. Like there's definitely some, everybody's got questionable history, right? We're not a perfect nation, but we've definitely been doing a lot more things right to get to the point where we we're leading the world,
Yeah.
and now we're doing a lot of things wrong, and we're not leading the world like we used to. I'll say that much.
No, and the world sees our bad example. It's kind of like kids. If the kids see you do one bad thing, do they have the ability to take that one bad thing they saw and take it to a whole new level? Right? It's kind of like, well, Dad let out a fart. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you go let out a fart in public all over the place. Dad did it at the kitchen table one time. Okay, but you don't go farting all over in public and pointing it out and laugh and say, right? Say like that's kind of like the rest of the world, where they go, well, America's kind of, been suppressing free speech in these ways. It's like, oh, well, now we can imprison anyone who says anything bad, or like, oh, how dare you? You're anti-Muslim, right? Or you're anti-immigrant. Prison for 12 years. Well, crap.
Yeah.
It's it's something that we have to reconcile in our voting patterns. And here's what I find interesting, right? And this, because what I'm about to tell you applies to the Latter-day Saints. In my other channel, I did a video on this. I did some research on voters and how religion influenced voting, especially Christian voters.
Mhm.
And typically, Christian voters will vote in conservative fashions, and usually are Republican, right? And because typically your most principled and people who will maintain good values are Republican over the last couple decades. So you have that, but there are some notable exceptions. Notable exceptions are primarily Black Protestants are the most prominent notable exceptions. And the study concluded that or actually, let me back up. Let me throw in a couple more details. They have found that the more often you attend church, if you attend church basically every week, you're more likely to vote conservatively and Republican. Right? Like if you participate in church more often, you're more likely to do this. But Black Protestants were the most likely community to, regardless of how often they go to church, right, and do all this church stuff, they were still likely to vote in unconservative and in Democrat ways. And it concluded that it seemed as though the reason for this was that there was a big Democrat Party affiliation, like basically ingrained into their culture, right? They couldn't separate that concept.
Huh.
I would say, that goes to show that you can be doing all the things the Lord would like you to do. You can be going to church, you can be reading your scriptures, you can be, doing these callings. But if you tie a certain identity, a certain thing more tightly, right, to a political persuasion, you will vote against the principles you've been taught and supposedly believe in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that kind of goes what we were talking about before, about conservatives, generally speaking, and I guess you were just kind of really saying this, but to the lay person, the way I have to hear
You can't lay.
it is that, generally speaking, conservatives, their politics is downstream of religion, right? Religion dictates how they're going to vote. And maybe we said this earlier, I don't remember. The Democrats are kind of different, especially the far left liberals are very different.
Yeah.
Where it's their religion is government to an extent, or it's so government has to do this for my religion to continue. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yep. You're
It's
right.
kind
So
yeah.
switching gears here now. What I'll share my thing after you. I want you to go first. If you were to recommend just one thing Latter-day Saints should be doing during this election cycle, one gift of the Spirit, or one thing they should pay attention to, whatever else, what should they pay careful attention to during this election time? Like what would probably help them most to at this time, do you think?
Well, I don't know, that's hard to narrow it down to just the one. But I guess I would say pray for the discernment of the
Took
two.
my words out of my mouth. I hate you.
Pray to understand who's like pray to know and to find so that you can know what are the actual things that these people have done. You know, who is who is just pro-life in general, right? There's the pro-life and then the pro-choice. Like, yes, agency is definitely a thing, and nobody's taking that agency away from you. The striking down of Roe v. Wade, you didn't lose your ability to go get an abortion. Trump's not gonna. What was it that I think? Who said it? I don't know if it was Harris or if it was just some stupid morons on the news. Probably just morons on the news, CNN or something. They're talking about Trump's gonna have you monitored when you're pregnant. Trump's gonna like. What are you talking about? Like he's never said anything like that. That's impossible to do and very illegal. Number one, like he would never. That's not what he's gonna do. That's not what getting rid of Roe v. Wade did. He's not trying to ban abortion, but he is trying to ban the mutilation and murder of children. Like, so I guess anyway, to go back to answering your question, just finding discernment so that you can understand the actions of the candidates and versus what they're saying. I guess I'll try to put it at that. So
I agree. That was literally that's I was like, dadgummit. I've got nothing new to share here other than
great,
amen.
like I yeah.
Like we have pray for the gift of discernment that you can discern truth and error. You can discern what would be better for the country, which candidate will be better for the country, right? We don't have to focus upon just the just the life abortion sort of a topic. Like yeah, we're Latter-day Saints don't have to be a one topic voter.
I guess that would be my other thing would be don't be a one issue voter. You can't be a one issue voter in this. It's the country, right? There's so many facets and aspects to the country. You can't just be a one single issue voter. You can't. And if you do want to be a one issue voter, and it seems like the huge one is abortion, do you really want to be on the side that says we can kill children up until birth and potentially after? Because they are doing that.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something like, oh man, it was something like it came out after the debate, and I don't think it really ran in CNN or anything, but they came out with the numbers. It was like 2022 or 2023. There was something like over 10,000 late term abortions that had nothing to do with the life of the mother or child.
Oh my.
So like, it's happening. You can't say it's not.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of those things. So Latter-day Saints need to be able to discern, right? Like step away from all the media and ask the Lord to see things as they really are. I had a blind spot, right? We all have blind spots. I had a major blind spot when I was going to college, and I had these feelings that I was like, I'm not sure what I'm doing, what's going on here, and I was asking the Lord, like, what do I do? Like, how do I get to where you want me to go? Right? I know I have a pretty good idea as to the end goal where I need to be in terms of what I do, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. Well, I asked for a blessing, and in the blessing, the Lord said, I have put in your life all around you evidences that are answering you and telling you what I want you to do. You now need, basically, you said, you now need to open your eyes and see them. They are in all areas of your life. And I got done with that blessing. I was like, well, couldn't you have just told me?
It just
But
those are,
yeah, it's like, so I did. I prayed. I humbled myself. I don't need to be, full of pride and unable to see. Humbled myself, and I saw the Lord did put in it was like a circle around me. Like when that blessing was given to me, I envisioned in my mind me standing and doing a 360, and all around me were all those answers. And but I was not seeing them. I was like, it was all dark. It's like I saw through glass darkly, I really am misusing that, because that means something different. But in terms of modern English, what we might pretend it means, I couldn't see. It was all dark, and I was like, okay. And I did, and I got my answer. It was clear.
yeah.
My answer was to quit college. I actually needed to quit college, but I wasn't willing to see that, because I was like, no, I have to go to college, right? It was not what I thought was traditional and right.
Right, yeah.
But the Lord could make me see that.
Dude,
Right?
that makes me think of, like, I was totally blinded by from what with joining the military. Like, I was totally blinded by the patriotism, the 9/11, the whatever you want to call it. Like, I want to serve my country, and this, because I do love my country. But I was totally blinded to what was really happening in the world, and a lot of it obviously just wasn't known yet at the time either. But I mean, it's not like it wasn't known to some degree by the world of,
You
like,
can overlook it, though. You can overlook it, man, when your zeal is so high.
I was totally blinded by that passion to serve, that I completely missed what was really happening and how stupid Iraq and Afghanistan really was, And so I'm never going to bash, the guys I served with or anything like that, because we did what we thought was right. But that doesn't mean we were right. And so,
Yeah.
hindsight, or whatever you want to call it, wisdom because of experience, should, can answer so many questions if you just, like you said, open your eyes to it.
Yeah, you're right. So okay, so now switching to the last thing we'll hear. Sorry, you were doing some research. What points might we have missed before I do this last part? Because this last part is about the shenanigans.
um, no, I mean, I think we've kind of been hitting everything we've been talking about, I think.
Sweet. Well, because we're a bunch of shysters and we all know about shenanigans.
Yeah.
Just joking. Um, part of in part with what I think Latter-day Saints should pray for, and all Christians, if you're watching this, all Christians should pray for in this discernment, is to be able to discern what is actually happening during this election, right? Let's pretend you're like, sorry, Ryan, like, I already voted, and I voted for Kamala because I was convinced she was the right one. I'm not so convinced now, or maybe I totally am, but I can't do anything about it. Like, this I don't give two craps about this video. So what do I do?
Just go fill out another ballot.
Speaking of that, speaking of that, so I want to share. This is an interesting thing, right? And by interesting, I mean totally bonkers, because this is happening. So it says, this is from X, Matthew S. DiPerno, Esquire. He says, after reviewing the qualified voter file QVF of votes actually cast as of yesterday, and I believe this was in Michigan, yeah. October 29th, 2024, the database identifies 114,545 Michigan voters who somehow cast, I put the word somehow, cast 279,000 ballots. Think of that. 114,000 possible voters.
What is that, like 140% increase in votes or something?
Yeah. Yep. 279,000 ballots cast from multiple addresses across the state. The result results in 164,000 excess ballots as of the 29th of October. Below is one voter ID. It shows one voter ID voting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 7 times. That's all I can see in the screenshot. It's
Oh,
like, right? I mean,
that's
so,
crazy.
so here's the thing. Pray for discernment, right? Even if you're a good Latter-day Saint and you're like, well, I am voting for Trump. Don't be a dumb Latter-day Saint. Don't be a dumb Christian. What I mean by that is, if you think last election was the most secure ever, or secure enough that there's no questions, or secure enough that Trump's, you're a bit ridiculous to say anything happened. If you're that dumb, pray that your eyes are this open that you can see what's going to happen now. Because I'm not going to say, all I can say is stuff is happening. It is happening.
Oh yeah.
And no matter the outcome, I want you to see how hard and from what direction the shenanigans are happening. Going to court over fraudulent votes is not shenanigans. Finding fraudulent votes is shenanigans. Votes coming in out of the blue, unsafe, security or lack of security for technology for voting,
Yeah.
right? And where did what happens in those votes? If you didn't pay close enough attention last time, let me give you a really, really, really quick synopsis. Magically, votes appeared for Biden and never for Trump. Interesting.
In the middle.
Because if he's the fascist here, gotta ask yourself,
How did he lose? He's a terrible fascist. He's a terrible Hitler.
But it's kind of like it's like why did he accidentally drop hundreds of thousands of ballots off for the wrong guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, because they'll cheat to get in there. So pay attention now. The shenanigans are happening. They already are. And illegals are voting. That's not made up. And Virginia, you're in Virginia. That already came up, right?
Yeah, I mean they've been voting since who knows how long. Illegals have been voting, but yeah, in Virginia, right? They just had the Biden DOJ was suing Virginia because Virginia was trying to kick off what was it? It wasn't necessarily illegals, but I mean there definitely some of them were. But it was what was the exact way they were doing this? Basically, it's people that weren't. Man, dang it! I can't remember what it was.
Because I know that one of the things I saw is they found out it was like 1,300, 1,500 votes that were cast by illegals who had their illegal alien identification cards, so they could be allowed to drive. So they were verifiably not citizens of America.
Right, and they weren't registered to vote. And so they were still on the voter rolls, but they weren't registered to vote, which doesn't.
That was the problem. They were allowed to be on the voter rolls. It's like that cannot be. And so the Biden-Harris administration, DOJ, tried suing the state to allow that to be in there. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, forget the candidate that you like, whether you like Trump, hate Trump, like forget it. Is that just? Is that good?
Right. Exactly.
Would that make Captain Moroni do a funky dance because he's excited and happy, or would that make him pull out a sword and say, "It's go time"?
Yeah. Part of me wonders, like, because you just said this made me think of like, I wonder if he's like up there, like at the veil, just like, let me through, man, let me through. Take this, let's go, let me through. He's like, no, I can't.
I felt that same way specifically about the founding fathers. Were like,
what's wrong with you people?
yeah, like Washington and Captain Moroni, like, let me down there. Moroni was like, I was the first Washington here,
Yeah, right.
and I died early from how much stress and how much tax, how much this taxed my body fighting these things. And we put it in this book to make sure no one did it again. Yeah, and
Really.
George Washington's like, I warn the bloody people, the
Yeah.
factions amongst parties.
Uh, yeah, man. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So yeah. Anyways, back to what we were saying before. I don't remember now.
That we open your eyes to the shenanigans. That way, no matter what outcome it is, you will see who tried doing what, right? And especially, where did the stealing try to happen, right?
And here's some other crazy stuff, right? Talk about projection and all this kind of crap. They've had Zelensky. They had uh, British. Um, what do they call them?
Consulates?
I don't remember. They had British politicians campaigning for Kamala. You want to talk about foreign interference? Why do you have foreign dignitaries campaigning for an American election? What the heck is that all about? But
Yeah.
and then I guess just this also goes into foreign interference. So my sister lives out in Washington. I don't know if you saw this, maybe you did, but there was a few ballot boxes, early voting ballot boxes that got destroyed and burned. Hundreds of ballots inside of these boxes were destroyed. And from
That's right.
I think if I'm
Free
oh,
Palestine was written on one of them.
what was?
Free Palestine was written
Yeah,
on one.
yeah. I couldn't remember if it was like Antifa BLM, but they've been pretty quiet. But yeah, it was a free Palestine thing. I was like, are you
So
who
here's
Lynn?
here think of the repercussions of that though. So when I say discern, allow yourself to think clearly and say, if someone burnt these early voting ballot boxes, what is the government now going to be allowed to do? And will they do it? Likely, and this may have already happened, but the government's then going to say, we have no idea who in these precincts voted. So therefore, we're going to let everyone revote here.
Yep.
But it's like, hold on, but are you going to make sure that if someone already voted because it could be and their vote was already in, didn't get burned, but they weren't sure, so they cast another one? Are you going to make sure to sync and delete duplicates? Like that's what I do in Google Sheets all the time for work, right? Like, are you going to delete the duplicates and say this one? And obviously the answer will be like,
Yeah.
well, not if they voted for Kamala.
Oh,
Right? Like
the double. Oh, that name spelled a little bit different by a couple letters. Mm.
back up a few.
Well, the crazy thing too was, and my sister told me this. I haven't dug deep into it. I don't know, but anyways, she said she's never voted in person since she's lived out there, and she's lived out there for
Oh, long time, man. Long time.
years, probably at least.
Yeah.
But she's never voted in person.
Really?
Always been a ballot box thing. I don't know if that's the only way to vote. That seems weird to me. But she made it seem like that's the only way you vote out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that would blow my mind if that's true.
That's insane.
How is that not a, a point of concern when it comes to election integrity?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna put all these ballots inside, and I guess we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It blows my. But then you got Pennsylvania. They're
Yeah.
where they're sitting there saying it might take us all week to count these ballots. What are you smoking? How is that? How is that a thing?
So, in my father this evening, I believe he said that it's been reported that the National Guard has been sent out now in preparation for riots. And I think it was like Nevada, Washington, Oregon.
Dude, DC is running evacuation drills with helicopters for the president, for all this stuff. Like they're actively doing drills right now.
Wow.
Of yep, we're gonna send helicopters in and evacuate the president because they're expecting. I don't know. Well, they're expecting another January 6th, but uh,
So,
there's
so,
so
so
many roads we can go with all of this stuff.
there's so many. So I guess if there's one thing I wanted to add here, that is secret combinations are evil. And in the Book of Mormon, we had prophetic vision. We had prophets laying out for us their existence and saying and helping us clearly say, guess what, reader? These bad guys, these good guys. Bad guys, good guys. Bad guys, good guys. We don't like these guys, we like these guys, right?
Hey, but we don't like binary choices, okay?
but but nowadays we don't have that so much, right? The prophets used to be more forward about this. Now we live in a very different, more dangerous time in ways that the church could be crippled from fulfilling its mission by redeeming the dead and spreading the gospel worldwide. But the Lord has never wanted Latter-day Saints to wait on the church to lead out and show them the direction that they should act. Never. Never, right? Like President Benson, even as a general authority, was attending political rallies and giving speeches, not because he was like, well, I see other people in the church doing this. He's like, no, like it is my duty as a Latter-day Saint and as an American to call out these things. And if Latter-day Saints cannot discern who we have the greatest measure of the Spirit. No other religion has it. And we have the most amount of truth. No other religion has what we have. We have all the advantages. If we cannot clearly see, have eyes to see and ears to hear and understand what is going on, how can we be instruments in the hands of the Lord to lead with our fellow men to defend freedom? That is a duty of ours, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to come running? Are we going to be able to come running when we see that flag, or are we going to raise the banner, a title of liberty, or at least come running to one? Or are we going to be one of those guys saying, "The heck is that banner up there?"
What does that mean?
Are we going to be like, "What a radical"?
Or are we even gonna take that flag down and burn it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I like these guys. They are good, virtuous individuals. Getty and robbers always think they're virtuous, right? And those who support Getty and robbers, they don't have to be the Gadians themselves. They don't have to be secret combination individuals themselves. But if you support it, you're going to be like, these are good, righteous individuals,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And anyways, so spoke my piece. I think we've said enough. Let's you all should be hearing from us during this election week, because
So let's summarize this, okay? Harris points, Trump points, right? And how we think they correlate to gospel principles.
okay. Let me do Harris. I'll let you do Trump. I'll do Harris. The significance of the passage of time.
Oh man.
Sorry. I mean,
As long as we can be
unburdened by
by,
what has been. Well, because we are unburdened by what has been,
and that's so significant.
because we are unburdened by principles, by this false tradition which holds us down. Sound like a Lamanite yet? Sound like a Gadian robber yet? Because we are unburdened by the false and wicked traditions, which blind our eyes, and we cannot see that we are enslaved to a false tradition, to this gospel, right? Or that our Father told us to go into the wilderness. I can be as obscure as I want about the evils I am for, and speak niceties amongst the people, without having to clarify clearly what I desire to do for you. Satan, Satan works he will work in bold ways. He'll also work in the careful, subtle ways.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone is clear, right, when Satan becomes clear and he's bold, you can read it and you go, "Oh, that's evil crap." Now we'll turn to Trump, and I'll let you do the Trump side, but I'm just going to say he's extremely clear on what he wants, and I'm not seeing evil in these declared bold things he's wanting. Him being bold is not a sign of devilry.
Right. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So I was gonna say, Harris's policies, because of what she's actually done in the past, are what?
Our open borders,
Mm-hmm.
our economic manipulation through environmentalism, and through expansion of government programs, the deterioration of the family through gender dysphoria, and the harming of people being able to compete in right way, like women's sports and stuff, right? So
Mhm.
harming meritocracy in a whole new disgusting way, right? So
Mhm.
not for meritocracy, not for freedom of speech, supporting things and doing things that harm the economy, doing things that sending money to our enemies, like Iran.
Mhm.
So harming the American citizens by funneling money away from them and into Ukraine to fund a war, right? Rather than supporting the nation,
And
right?
then kickbacks. Yeah.
Yep. So that I mean, like I could go on, but let's keep it to that.
And she wants to get rid of these things.
I mean, hey, I'm on the fence about those.
But I own a Glock. Okay. But which one? There's only like 50 different models. I mean, well, wait a minute. I thought we weren't supposed to be doing anyway.
Okay, so that's her. What about T-Man?
Okay. So for the Trumpsters, um, well, his economic policies uh, included deregulations, making it easier for people to start businesses, to run businesses, things like that. Uh, Pay their employees better. He increased world peace, right? He almost had the what were they called? The Abraham Accords. Is that what it was?
Yeah, well, he created the
Yeah.
Abraham Accords, and they were working just fine.
Yeah, and they were working great in the Middle East. So he's the closest we've ever been to a pretty solid peace deal in the Middle East. Energy independence, meaning gas prices were very cheap, um, which means all of our goods are very cheap. He had amazing stock market records. Like every month, it was increasing pretty much. Lowest inflation the country's had in over like 40, 50 years, something like that. Or maybe it was the lowest it's ever. No, not the lowest it's ever been.
Lowest unemployment.
Why? I mean, there's that too on all demographics. Pretty much everybody who's lowest unemployment the country's ever seen. What else? What else? He didn't start any new wars, but he definitely let the military do its job with ISIS, killed off
Yeah,
ISIS,
he ended a war. He ended a war with ISIS.
and now they're back in Afghanistan. The average wage earned was plus $4,000 under Trump for pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Under Biden, it's been negative 8,000. So that's a pretty crappy turn. Let's see. The VA, in my own experience, was experiencing. Um, we had better. It seemed like we had better people getting in there and actually taking care of things. We were able to do different things. Were expanding under Trump as far as the VA goes. That were better as far as if you're too far away from a VA hospital or clinic, like you can get services in town. The VA covers it. He did do some pretty crappy gun things as far as like he banned bump stocks, which bump stock doesn't do anything with a gun. Like you can bump stock with your finger in your belt loop. Like that's
I think that's a pretty good list. You didn't have to keep going. That's a great list.
I don't
But
know.
like
He didn't during COVID. That just sucked for everybody. But he let the governors do their things.
exactly, that's a huge one. He did not expand the federal government to say we're going to decide for everyone. He let the governors do that,
Mm.
and people were begging him to be a dictator in that way. Man, what a fascist that he wouldn't just grab the helm.
Nazi, such a Nazi, so Hitler-like, so Mussolini-like. Clearly, when you had DeSantis down in Florida who was like, "Yeah, we're not closing anything down." You got Cuomo in New York, where I was in New York during COVID, and that sucked. Walls in during COVID, Walls he had his cops shooting paintballs at people who were standing outside their house. Do you see that video?
No, I heard of it. There's
Yeah,
a video.
crazy. There's like this total goon squad of cops walking down the street. And maybe they're going to the riots. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't help either, right? You're letting riots happen in your city. But there's these people just out on the porch videoing these cops walk by, and there's probably like 15 of them, and you hear them saying like, get back in your house, get back in your house. Like, why? It's the middle of the night, nobody's sick, and so you hear one of the cops yell, "All right, light them up," and you just hear, paintball guns, and the paintball are whacking the people and everything. Like, what? And that was, that's Tim Walz's Minnesota during COVID. Actually, I heard this too. I heard that more people died in nursing homes in Minnesota than did in New York.
I heard that. I can't verify that, but would not surprise me.
No, I can't remember where I saw that. But anyways, and then, of course, more people died under Biden from COVID and all that kind of stuff. Well, but who really knows what these numbers really are, because it's been so skewed.
That's true.
This list can go on for a while, but
yeah.
In my personal opinion,
so I want to say then, we going back to a point I said before, the Lord is not going to hold us guiltless.
mm-hmm.
We have eyes to see. We experienced him for 4 years. We experienced her for 4 years. And how is the nation and how is the world?
Mm-hmm.
Compare the two. Just be very quick about it.
Nope.
Very easy answer. Very easy way to vote. And now, watch the sheep show happen as with this election. And do you have to decide within yourself what sort of Latter-day Saint, what sort of Christian, what sort of American are you going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, I think most LDS people do go conservative. But
the poll showed it was like 73% of Latter-day Saints vote conservatively.
Didn't it used to be like up in the 80s though?
Yeah, I used to, but Mitt's really good at convincing people to love the flattery of the world more than they do their gospel principles.
Yeah.
But hey, I do have to go. So I'm gonna make sure that this is all ready. Ryan, you wanna head us out, like give us the outro.
The outro. Well, I will say, read the scriptures, use them as not just historical references, but keep it the compass, right?
As a Urim and Thummim.
Yes. The Urim and Thummim. However you say that. Whichever way you guys vote, I'm not gonna hate. I just remember what you signed up for whenever you vote, whichever way you vote. And I don't know where things are gonna go. I don't want bad things to happen. And in my personal opinion, I think we have the best chances under Orange Man. And it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully we'll do a hopefully we're doing something Tuesday night. We're gonna try to do we've been talking about doing like a live thing, but I mean, we might have to go all week if that's the case, because votes are going to be pouring in all week or something.
We're just not going to turn off the live stream. We're going, guys. Like, all right, I'll stay awake. You guys take your nap. I'm on watch. Got some rock stars.
Oh man.
Yeah. But thank you so much for listening to us here so far. We're all about trying to help Latter-day Saints remove Marxism from the church. And if you vote, in a way, if you are supporting the government from becoming, in a direction that's going to harm and encourage more Marxism, that's a bad thing. So we're here to help people see that. But anyways, I'll talk to you later, Ryan. We'll be back soon.
All right, man. Hopefully Tuesday we'll do something good.
That's right. See ya.
All right, bye.